I feel like I want to cry.
Why?
Just because it's like, it gives me anxiety. And I'm just like, it makes you really like analyze just like where you're at. And then I'm like, sometimes like, what am I doing?
So was taking his last name a given? Were you positive that was going to happen, or did you think about that for a while?
It was a given. Yeah, it was just a given. It wasn't a thought.
Does Travis Barker actually respect Scott Disick, or has he been playing psychological warfare this entire time? The tension between these two men goes way deeper than awkward family dinners and forced smiles for the cameras. What started as a seemingly mature situation has spiraled into something far messier, and Travis might have just realized his strategy backfired in the worst way possible. The truth about what's really happening behind closed doors is about to get exposed. And trust me, it's nothing like what you've been seeing on social media. Let's rewind to the moment everything changed. Summer 2021, Kourtney and Travis were living their best lives in Italy, kissing on boats, groping each other at dinner tables, basically acting like teenagers who just discovered physical affection. The internet was already divided on whether their constant PDA was cute or cringe. But then Scott Disick decided to make things interesting. He slid into Younes Bendjima's DMs, Kourtney's other ex-boyfriend, with a message that would blow up his entire reputation. Scott sent Younes a paparazzi photo of Kourtney straddling Travis on a yacht and wrote something like, "Yo, is this chick okay? Like, what is this in the middle of Italy?" He was clearly pressed, clearly bothered, and clearly not over his ex-girlfriend moving on with the Blink-182 drummer. But here's where it gets good. Younes didn't keep that message private. He screenshot it and posted it publicly with his own response, basically telling Scott he had no right to comment, since Kourtney's happiness should matter more than Scott's feelings. The internet went absolutely wild. Everyone saw Scott for what he really was at that moment: jealous, possessive, and unable to handle seeing Kourtney happy with someone else. And Travis? He didn't need to say a single word. He just liked the post exposing Scott's message and then shared a clip from the movie Goodfellas where Ray Liotta is laughing hysterically. That response was ice cold. It said everything without saying anything at all. Travis was essentially laughing in Scott's face, letting the world know he found the whole situation pathetic and amusing. Kourtney backed him up too, posting fan art of her and Travis with heart emojis, making it crystal clear whose side she was on. Scott had publicly embarrassed himself, and Travis made sure everyone knew he won that round. But what people don't talk about enough is why Travis responded that way. According to insiders close to the situation, Travis felt threatened by Scott from the very beginning of his relationship with Kourtney. Think about it. Scott isn't just some random ex-boyfriend. He's the father of Kourtney's 3 children. He's been part of the Kardashian family for over 15 years. And he has a bond with that family that Travis will never be able to replicate, no matter how many family vacations he goes on or how many times he appears on their reality show. Travis knew that walking into this relationship, and it bothered him more than he wanted to admit. So what did he do? He went nuclear with the PDA. Every single public appearance became an opportunity to mark his territory. Kissing Kourtney at Disneyland in front of her kids, making out with her courtside at basketball games, posting intimate photos that left nothing to the imagination. It wasn't just about showing affection, it was strategic. Travis wanted to send Scott a message loud and clear: Kourtney belongs to me now, and there's nothing you can do about it. The excessive displays of affection weren't just for social media either. People who've been around them at family gatherings say Travis and Kourtney can barely keep their hands off each other, even when Scott is in the same room. Imagine being Scott, showing up to your daughter's birthday party and having to watch your ex-girlfriend grinding on her new boyfriend, while your kids are eating cake 10 feet away. That's the reality Travis created. He wanted Scott to feel uncomfortable, to feel like an outsider, to understand that his time with Kourtney was over and would never come back. Travis thought if he made things awkward enough, Scott would eventually distance himself from the family and fade into the background. The plan seemed foolproof. Overwhelm Scott with affection, make him feel irrelevant, and claim total victory in the battle for Kourtney's heart. Except it didn't work out that way at all. What Travis didn't account for was the Kardashian family's loyalty structure. Scott isn't just Kourtney's ex. He's Kris Jenner's unofficial son, Khloe's best friend, and Kendall and Kylie's big brother figure. The family loves Travis and they're happy Kourtney found someone who treats her well. But when push comes to shove, their loyalty lies with Scott. He's been there through every major moment of their lives for the past decade and a half. He was there when their father passed away. He was there through every business venture and family crisis. And he's remained close with all of them even after his relationship with Kourtney ended. Travis came into a family dynamic that was already solidified, and no amount of tongue kissing at the dinner table was going to change that. Even Kourtney's own children, the three people you'd think would be most excited about their mom finding happiness, seemed to struggle with Travis's aggressive approach to their relationship, and that brings us to the development that probably keeps Travis up at night. Mason Disick, Kourtney's oldest son, made a decision that sent shockwaves through the family. The now 14-year-old chose to live with his father Scott instead of staying primarily with Kourtney and Travis. Let that sink in for a second. A teenage boy looked at his options and decided he'd rather be with his dad full-time than live in a house where his mom is constantly all over her new husband. Multiple sources have confirmed that Mason became increasingly uncomfortable with the amount of PDA he had to witness at home. Teenagers are already at that age where seeing their parents show any affection is mortifying, but what Mason was dealing with went way beyond normal. He'd walk into the kitchen and find Travis and Kourtney making out against the counter. He'd try to watch TV in the living room and they'd be cuddling and kissing on the couch next to him. It became too much, and Mason made the difficult choice to remove himself from that environment. The situation got even more tense when the family planned a trip to Australia for a vacation and some filming. Mason refused to go. He didn't want to be followed by cameras anymore, and he definitely didn't want to spend a week watching his mom and Travis be all over each other in a foreign country. Scott backed his son's decision, and Mason stayed behind with his dad while Kourtney, Travis, and the other kids went on the trip. You can only imagine how much that hurt Kourtney. Her firstborn child, the one she'd been closest to for years, basically chose his father over her because he couldn't handle her relationship dynamics. And Travis had to sit with the reality that his behavior directly contributed to that choice. He wanted to push Scott out of the picture, but instead, he pushed Mason away from Kourtney and straight into Scott's arms. The bond between Scott and Mason has only grown stronger since then. If you check Scott's Instagram, you'll see photos of them together all the time, going to car shows, hanging out at home, just being best friends. Mason even commented on one of Scott's posts calling him his best friend for life, which had to sting for Kourtney to see. There are even whispers that Scott might be subtly encouraging this distance between Mason and Kourtney, not in an obvious manipulative way, but just by being the cool, laid-back parent who doesn't embarrass his son or force him into uncomfortable situations. Whether that's true or not, the result is the same. Travis tried to eliminate Scott's presence and ended up making him more important than ever, at least in Mason's life. That's got to eat at Travis, knowing that in the area that matters most, being a positive influence on Kourtney's children, he's losing to the man he tried so hard to overshadow. Then there's Scott's physical transformation, which nobody can stop talking about. Over the past couple years, Scott has lost a dramatic amount of weight, and the rumor mill immediately started churning. Insiders claim he's been using Ozempic, the diabetes medication that's become Hollywood's worst-kept secret for rapid weight loss. But here's the part that connects back to Travis. Multiple sources have said Scott's decision to lose weight was directly motivated by jealousy over Kourtney's relationship. Scott looked at Travis, this tattooed rocker with a lean frame, and felt inadequate with his own dad bod. For years, Scott had been comfortable with his appearance, but seeing Kourtney with someone who looked like a completely different physical type than him triggered something. He wanted to prove he could transform himself, maybe show Kourtney what she was missing, or at least not feel like the less attractive option when they were at the same family events. The weight loss got concerning though. Photos emerged showing Scott looking almost gaunt, his face hollow, his body significantly thinner than it had ever been. Friends started worrying it had gone too far, that his obsession with competing with Travis had turned into something unhealthy. There were even discussions about staging an intervention, because people close to Scott felt he was spiraling, using weight loss as a way to cope with the emotional pain of losing Kourtney to another man. The whole situation revealed just how deep Scott's feelings still run. He can date 20-year-old models all he wants, but at the end of the day, he's still hung up on Kourtney, still bothered by Travis, and still trying to find ways to feel relevant in a situation where he's been replaced. And Travis knows all of this, which makes their interactions even more loaded with unspoken tension. These days, the dynamic between Travis and Scott at family events is apparently unbearable to witness. They don't speak to each other unless absolutely necessary. When they're in the same room, they position themselves on opposite sides and avoid eye contact. It's awkward for everyone else who has to pretend everything's fine while these two grown men act like children. What makes it even more ridiculous is that they actually have something in common that could bond them if they weren't so territorial. Both Travis and Scott are huge car enthusiasts. They both collect luxury and vintage vehicles. They both attend the same car shows. They both geek out over engines and custom modifications. In another universe, they could have been friends, bonding over their shared passion while co-parenting Kourtney's kids in a healthy blended family situation. But that's never going to happen because Travis sees Scott as a threat that needs to be neutralized, and Scott sees Travis as the man who stole his family. Scott has admitted in interviews and on the show that he'll always love Kourtney. He said she's the mother of his children and will always hold a special place in his heart, which is a nice way of saying he never fully moved on, and probably never will. He's tried to move forward with other relationships, dating Sophia Richie for years, and then briefly seeing Amelia Hamlin, But none of those relationships worked out long-term. Some people speculate it's because Scott subconsciously sabotages any relationship that gets too serious, keeping himself available just in case Kourtney ever changes her mind. That possibility, no matter how slim, is something Travis has to live with. He married Kourtney. They have this intense physical connection, but he knows there's an emotional history between her and Scott that spans nearly 2 decades and produced 3 children. That's not something you can just erase with excessive PDA and matching Halloween costumes. The real test for Travis comes down to this. If the Kardashian family were ever forced to choose sides, not in a dramatic ultimatum way, but in terms of who they'd prioritize maintaining a relationship with, they'd pick Scott. Travis knows this, Kourtney knows this, and it's something they probably argue about behind closed doors. Khloe has been vocal about her loyalty to Scott, often defending him even when he messes up. Kris Jenner still treats him like family and includes him in major events. The younger sisters still consider him their friend. Travis is the new husband, but Scott is legacy. He's woven into the fabric of that family in a way Travis never will be, no matter how long the marriage lasts. That's a tough pill to swallow for someone who tried so hard to establish dominance in this situation. Looking at everything that's unfolded, you have to wonder if Travis regrets his approach. The constant PDA, the public disrespect towards Scott, the territorial behavior that pushed Mason away from his own mother. Did any of it actually benefit him? Sure, he got to embarrass Scott with that Instagram DM situation. He got to publicly claim Kourtney as his in the most dramatic ways possible. But what did he lose in the process? He lost respect from some of Kourtney's children. He created an uncomfortable dynamic at family gatherings that affects everyone. And he positioned himself as the insecure new husband who feels threatened by the ex instead of the confident man who knows his relationship is secure. Travis wanted total victory, complete elimination of Scott from Kourtney's life, but life doesn't work that way, especially when children and a massive extended family are involved. The irony in all of this is almost poetic. Travis tried so hard to make Scott irrelevant that he actually made him more important. Every time Travis posted another makeout photo, it reminded everyone that he felt the need to prove something. Every time he was over the top with affection at a family event, it made people uncomfortable and sympathetic towards Scott, who had to witness it. Every time Mason chose his dad over being around Travis and Kourtney, it reinforced that Scott is the stable, drama-free parent, while Travis is part of the chaos. Scott didn't have to do anything except exist and be there for his kids. Travis did all the work of making himself look insecure, while making Scott look like the mature one who took the high road. So where does this leave everyone now? Kourtney is caught between her husband and the father of her children, trying to balance keeping Travis happy while not completely alienating Scott and damaging her relationship with Mason further. Travis is probably realizing that his aggressive strategy didn't accomplish what he hoped and might actually be considering a different approach, though his ego might not let him admit he was wrong. Scott is still hanging around the family, still bonding with his son, still making Travis uncomfortable just by existing, and probably enjoying the fact that he remains important despite being replaced romantically. And Mason is the one who suffers most from all this adult drama, forced to navigate his parents' messy situation, while just trying to be a normal teenager. The real question moving forward is whether Travis can let go of his jealousy and insecurity regarding Scott. Can he accept that Scott will always be part of Kourtney's life and stop seeing that as a threat? Can he tone down the excessive PDA and create an environment where Mason feels comfortable coming home? Can he be secure enough in his marriage to not need constant public validation? Or will this territorial battle continue, making family gatherings awkward and pushing Kourtney's kids further away? Because right now, the only person winning in this situation is Scott, and that's entirely because Travis played his hand wrong from the beginning. The harder Travis tried to erase Scott, the more important Scott became, and that's a lesson in how jealousy and insecurity can backfire spectacularly. As Mason gets older and Penelope and Rain start forming their own opinions about Travis, this dynamic is only going to get more complicated. Will they follow Mason's lead and distance themselves from their mom's marriage? Will Travis finally realize he needs to change his approach? Will Scott continue to be the stable presence in their lives, while Travis is the chaotic stepfather they tolerate? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain: this mess is far from over. And Travis's comments about Scott, whether spoken out loud or communicated through shady Instagram likes and excessive PDA, reveal a man who's still fighting a battle he already lost the moment he made it a competition in the first place.